Hello, this is my first talk. I'm not really sure what to do, but today I'll be talking about what happened recently with, me and my friends over at the DUSD, as we went to this entire destroyed world called Rain World to see some sort of illness going around and experiment with it. I can't even remember. It's all been such a blur since. Anyway, the illness, which we called the rain virus, was first discovered on the closest thing to an intelligent being we could find on that world. This group called the Scavengers. One of the members of their group had gone from dark black and grey skin to a dark green and had become vicious. Their intelligence was deteriorating. They could barely use tools anymore, and they became just a mindless beast that went around hunting the animals of this strange ecosystem. Its flesh started to tear away, and its muscle and brain and bone was exposed. Its fellow scavengers tried to take it out, but it seemed that whenever the virus was transmitted, it was by one of the hosts of the virus biting another, and so that entire tribe became infected. It was a horrible, horrible sight, and the scientists that were with me seemed to be enjoying it, watching it to discover something.
Hello everybody, I really wanted to get some videos out for Halloween, unlike last year where I didn't plan ahead far enough and didn't really get any out for Halloween. So, as you can probably tell, this video is a Halloween video because it is Halloween. How many times can I say Halloween in one sentence? I mean, I've already done the Ben 10 as a horror story video, that was definitely meant for Halloween, and I guess even though it was early, my Pokemon as Demons episode could probably be a good Halloween episode as well. I mean, go check them out. Anyway, I knew I wanted to do a zombies episode because recently, as I was ranking all of my drawings for my 100 subscribers special, wow, I'm cramming a lot of references to other videos. If you do want to see them, go check them out, but I'm going to try and make this not just an advert. Anyway, as I was going through that, I saw I've only really ever done 2 zombie videos on the channel, which is Bloons Tower Defense 6 zombies and Beast Quest zombies. 2 things I'm not really working with as much anymore. So I knew I wanted to do a zombies episode, and I really couldn't think of what to do for a while until it hit me. Rain World. It hit me because that's involved in something I'm working on for 2026, which is going to be a big thing for the channel, stemming from my love of drawing challenges, but I've already said too much. Anyway, I don't know why that came to me immediately, and I thought that was the best idea, but I just rolled with it. Scavenger is probably my favourite from this episode. It's the one I was most excited to do. And all of these, I don't really have many drawing notes, because I just did what I always do with zombies, basically. I really like how I've improved on kind of how I used to do it, though, where it was just muscle showing and, like, scars and stuff. Here, I think it makes more sense. I got more bone, more anatomy. Overall, I think they're just cooler drawings than they used to be, which I guess makes sense. I've had a lot of practice since then.
And, I mean, really, there's this species called slug cats, I think they were called, on this world, and they're just an entire other mess. We were tracking this slug cat that had been hunted by the Scavenger clan and hit by one of their spears, which I guess also transmitted the disease. I can't even remember that entire mess anymore. They were like hit with the spears and their body instantly started to turn green. It originally had been like this white slimy colour, but it dried out and parts of it simply began falling off. The slug cat seemed to resist a bit longer than other species, though. Other species became animalistic, hunting and craving for flesh almost immediately, but the slug cat, being another, at least a little bit intelligent species, did manage to hold back for a bit longer, which, you know, that's a good thing, I guess, but that didn't stop it from turning eventually.
One downside I think there would be for me doing more zombie episodes on the channel is the drawings usually end up pretty similar. You know, they're green versions of the character with flesh missing and stuff. Maybe I'll need to experiment with ways to vary up within that, but if you want me to do more zombie episodes, let me know. I'm only just realising this is like the first episode in a while that I've done design notes for. Well, drawings and design, lore and design notes, because the last few videos have either been design notes or lore, so this is a nice change of pace. Anyway, you might notice I struggled a bit with the pose for this on the head of the slug cat. I don't know what made me struggle with it so much. I tried to copy it almost exactly. I ended up tracing it, which is something I almost never do. But the slug cat has just such a specific shape to them, and I kept seeing with some of like the official art for the game, not the pixel art, which I do think is really cool, but wasn't exactly helping because it was a bit vague. But there was some really colourful shadows and highlights, and I used to do that a lot, but nowadays I don't really do it as much, and I feel like that's kind of a missed opportunity. Anyway, I do think that this turns out really well, even if the highlights being greenly coloured doesn't really help this drawing stand out. And I mean, it is just your classic zombie drawing, like I said, all the drawings in this episode are, but I do think it looks good, and it stands out for the background. I like how I did flat colours in this one. You know, it's simple drawing, and speaking of simple drawings, I think Rainworld is actually one of the harder things I could have done to turn into zombies. Because, yeah, there's a lot of, like, art for the creatures in there, but in the actual game, which is what I wanted to reference the most, it's pixel art. And don't get me wrong, I love pixel art and I create it, but it's so simple, and that works really well for the game. But for these more in-depth drawings, it was a bit difficult to translate.
Before it even turned aggressive, this slug cat, as it was called, still managed to somehow transmit that stupid illness onto these usually passive creatures called yeeks. The DUSD had stopped tracking the slug cat, or at least stopped focusing on it, and they went to see some other illnesses that had been transmitted by the scavenger clan, and they left me and this other weirdo to check on these yeeks and see what they would end up doing. These creatures are like weird rabbit abominations with these two long dangly legs. And when they started turning, I mean, nothing happened for a while. But one big difference that all these turned had was their lifeless eyes. And eventually, these things were hunted by some of the more aggressive creatures. These things called Miros birds or vultures or something like that. I mean, it's all just such a mess. Anyway, these creatures were hunted by them, and one had a huge bite taken out of it. You could see its spine and ribs and all its muscle and everything, and it just kept going as if it wasn't injured. I don't know how the virus can even do that. That's like against physics or something. It shouldn't be allowed. Anyway, the creature just kept on moving as if nothing happened. Parts of it would rip off into muscle tissue, and eventually it'd just be hunted more and more. It seemed like even these rabid creatures couldn't survive in such a dangerous environment, but it seemed like it wasn't just the infected creatures biting that could spread the disease. We eventually had to send an entire squadron out to that whole world because the creatures that had taken bites out of these yeeks had also gotten the infection somehow.
This is the most normal zombie design I feel like I've ever done. It is the creature as a zombie. I went with some of the colourful shadows and light, and again I think I'm going to work on that more in the future, but and I added some foreground elements, I guess, which I don't usually do, but apart from that, this is the most zombie drawing I think I could have done. It's just so simple. It is just a zombie. Something I did try to do for this, so Rainworld is a very simple game, and I don't mean that as a knock to it. I mean, like, the art is simple. The game itself is very complex, and it's a very good game, but the art is so simple, it's just flat colours with like all the creatures in the backgrounds. So I wanted to see if I could create a creature in an environment that was entirely like flat colours and it not feel dark. I mean, the sky behind it I guess isn't, but I wanted the environment to be entirely flat colours to represent the game. I actually think it came out pretty well, and I might do it in the future, I'm not sure. So overall, yeah, the lore for that last drawing went a bit long, so I ain't got many design notes to say about this, but I feel like I won anyway. It is a zombie drawing, and it's pretty solid.